Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate and heading out to the Big 12, Iowa State, heading on the road to play Kansas State and getting into some of the prep work and getting my notes ready to get into this game breakdown. You start to understand why both of these programs have had so much success the last couple of years. And that's not because they're bringing in 4- and 5-star talent and out recruiting teams like Texas and Oklahoma, because they're one of the most well-coached teams that you see across college football. You take a look at some of the metrics about winning football games, right? Penalty yards, turnovers, red zone efficiency. Both of these programs are at the top of the list for all of those categories. So you look at how these programs who aren't recruiting to the level Texas and Oklahoma are winning these football games. It's because they have some of the strongest culture and kind of discipline that you see across the country. Really excited to get into this matchup. Two coaches and programs that I have a ton of admiration for. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. These game breakdowns have been a blast for me all year. The amount of support you guys have shown, it's been amazing. It means a ton. If you do enjoy the content, you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Picks, predictions, keys to the game. We'll chop it up there. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with kind of a stat that most Kansas State fans, especially the ones who've been listening the last couple of weeks, they know because we've talked about it. But I don't think a lot of people understand this Kansas State offense is one of the most explosive and one of the most efficient offenses that you see in the country. They're averaging 37.4 points per game. That's 11th most in the country. If you were to poll many people on the streets, just some casual college football fans, and ask them to name the top 15 offenses in the country, I don't think a lot of people would include Kansas State, but that's exactly what they've been doing. And you look at why they've had so much success the last couple of weeks on the offensive side of the ball. One, I think this team knows what their identity is, and that's running the football behind a very good offensive line led by Cooper Beebe and two really good running backs with a quarterback that can use his legs as well. Right? DJ Giddens, Trayshawn Ward running the rock extremely well, behind a good running back, behind a good offensive line with a quarterback that can be dynamic. And what makes this offense even more special is, yes, they know their identity and they run the football extremely well, averaging 4.9 yards per carry, top 25 mark in the country. What makes it more special is they know how to marry that run game with the passing attack. And this is not an air raid offense by any means, but when they get the run game going and they start getting those RPOs and play actions, that is when this offense is at its best. And as it's had more success the last couple of weeks running the football, you've seen this offense really take some strides. Now, if I were to get one thing critical of this Kansas State offense, going back and watching that game against Kansas, Phillip Brooks needs more touches. He's the one guy that I think is the true difference maker on the outside. I believe he had one catch for 7 yards against Kansas. You ask when we need one on 3rd and long, or we need a play on the outside, Phillip Brooks is the guy. He's been that guy last year as well. I would like to see him get a little bit more involved in the offense. Again, Will Howard, DJ Giddens, Trayshawn Ward, all phenomenal players. Ben Sinnott, you guys know how I feel about him. Phillip Brooks is a guy that I want to see get more touches because how explosive he can be in providing, whether it's yards after the catch, whether it's stretching the field. I think he's a massive asset to this offense that I think needs more touches going forward. You look at this Iowa State defense, it's been really good. Right? You look at rush defense, top marks. The secondary has been phenomenal, and they're really good in the red zone, only giving up 21.6 points per game. They've been really good against the run, and you're looking at the biggest storyline of this matchup. It's this Iowa State rushing defense that's only allowing 3.8 yards per carry against one of the better rushing attacks in Kansas State. Who is going to win that battle? If Kansas State can get that ground game going, you got to let Kansas State in this game. If Iowa State can give Kansas State problems in terms of getting that run game going, that's probably going to help Iowa State in a meaningful way because this is a secondary that's extremely hard to pass on. 55% completion percentage given up. That's number 12 in the country, and only 6.4 yards per pass attempt. That's top 20. You look at this Iowa State defense and why they've been so good. They're just not very vulnerable at any level of the defense. They're really good in the front seven, stopping the run, and they're really good at the back end, not only not allowing you to hit explosive plays, but forcing turnovers themselves. Getting to the other side of the football, this Iowa State offense, I thought it was dead in the water a couple weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago when the season just started. I didn't think Rocco Becht was the guy to lead a Big 12 offense, and they've kind of slowly proved me wrong. And I'm not saying Rocco Becht is an All-American level quarterback, but he's played really solid the last couple weeks. And you go back and watch that Texas game, they couldn't run the football worth anything. They had 9 total yards running the football against Texas. Rocco Becht, 323 yards through the air against a Texas defense that is extremely good. And they're having playmakers step up on the outside too, right? Jalen Noel, Higgins, guys who can make explosive plays. Our one knock on this Iowa State offense has been they can't find the explosive plays. They've started to find those plays the last couple of weeks, and that offense is starting to cook a little bit. Now, the one thing that you're looking at here is, can Iowa State run the football? They're at their best when they're balanced. They did not run the football very well against Texas, only 9 yards. They've only been running it for 3.7 yards per carry this year. That's 93rd in the country. They're going up against the Kansas State defense that really struggled to stop the run last week against Kansas, giving up 234 rushing yards, 5.7 yards per carry. Can Iowa State establish something on the ground against a Kansas State team that on the year is getting given up 4.5 yards per carry? That's 81st in the country. That's probably the biggest storyline, because I don't know if you're trusting Rocco Becht to sit back there and dice up a Kansas State defense that's only allowing a 55% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks. So both offenses, I think the biggest story is who has more success running the football, because both of these secondaries are very good. And if you have to become one-dimensional and you can't get that ground game going, I think it's going to be a long day for whatever offense struggles to get the ground game going. Getting to the pick here, and this one's tough. I really do like how I think this Kansas State team looks as good as it's ever had this year. Even going back to that Texas game where they really gave Texas a run for their money and very well could have won that football game. I'm going to take Iowa State in the points. I think Kansas State can certainly win this game, but I don't think people give Iowa State enough credit for being as tough on defense as they are. They're going on the road. They're playing extremely good defense. And if they can get a run game going just a little bit, this game, going back to kind of how we started, both of these teams are extremely well coached. They're well disciplined and they play hard. And for me, it's hard to see this game becoming a 2-score game. I think Kansas State certainly can win this game. If you had to ask me who's going to win this game, I'll probably lean Kansas State. But Iowa State getting what? It's been bouncing around a little bit. It's at 9.5 points. If that were to go over to 10, give me Iowa State to cover the 10 points, 9.5, because I just don't think this game gets ugly. Iowa State was able to keep it close against a very good team in Texas. If they keep it close against a team in Kansas that's very good as well, I think this is Iowa State team that's playing really, really good football down the stretch. I don't see it getting ugly. I'll take Iowa State in the points, Kansas State to win the game. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the fellas, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.